There was another ad that ran during the Super Bowl last night by the state of Israel. Money's fungible, of course, so we don't know if it was actually part of the aid that we have given them to provide a $7 million ad during the Super Bowl. But while the ad was running, they began their bombing assault on Rafah. Again, Rafah is a city in the southern tip of Gaza that borders the Egyptian Sinai Desert. And it normally has about 300,000 people in the city. Again, Gaza in and of itself, the densest place on earth in terms of population. 300,000 people in the city. It is now home to about 1.4 million, many of those in tents set up by the UN. And now Israel is now bombing that area, looking to what they call evacuate these people.
Let me just read this quote really quickly about what it was like in Rafah last night. This was from an Al Jazeera contributor. The screaming and wailing nearly drowned out the warplanes that covered the sky, dropping barrages in a fiery belt that crushed the bodies of the displaced in their tents. So just the point is just that the people that were bombed and killed last night, many of them were literally like, there's no place to go. They're sheltering in tents as refugees, and that's how they spent their last moments.
Here is Bibi Netanyahu, who of course was on Fox News. This was on last night.
He was on ABC as well, too. So he's doing the American
he's doing the rounds.
Media rounds.
As a way, I guess, ostensibly of pushing back on the sort of mild criticism that Joe Biden launched, as in they're a little bit over the top.
That's how I describe like a Baz Luhrmann film, not a potential genocide.
But here is Netanyahu on with Fox's Shannon Bream.
Okay, so let's talk about Rafah. You've told your military, got to evacuate that area. Critics of this say that hundreds of thousands, maybe more than 1 million people have evacuated from elsewhere in Gaza to that location. One former U.S. envoy saying these people have nowhere to go and no way to get there. So again, you talk about total victory, but at what cost, and where do you expect these people to go? Have the Egyptians said anything to you about this? Because they're publicly saying if those people start crossing the border, it potentially upends your peace agreements with Egypt.
We have cleared out and conquered and destroyed most of the Hamas terrorist infrastructure in the rest of the Gaza Strip. So now there's plenty of room north of Rafah for them to go to, and that's where we're going to direct them. And again, urge them and direct them to do so with flyers, with cell phones, and with safe corridors and other things. So we see things differently. We've managed to do it up to now, and this is the directive that I gave the Army right now. I think the people who are telling you, oh, you can't do it, you can't go into Rafah under any conditions, are basically saying, don't win, lose. And if we lose, everybody loses. You lose too. Because this is a battle against the Iran terror axis. This is a battle of the forces of civilization against the worst forces of barbarism on the planet. We have to win, not only for our sake, but for the sake of our common civilization. And it just has to be, you just have to continue purposefully, methodically, and responsibly, and we're going to do it. And by the way, this position is not just mine. It's the people of Israel. People don't understand how united the people are, how brave and determined our soldiers are across the political spectrum. People understand that we have no choice but to win this war, because our very future, and in many ways the future of peace and prosperity in the Middle East depend on this. If we don't defeat Hamas, then the worst things will happen. If we defeat Hamas, then I think not only will we have peace and prosperity, I think the circle of peace will expand dramatically. I said that when we did the Abraham Accords, before we...
Oh, geez. Well, you may want to interject in there at one point, Shannon Bremer. She just seems so, ecstatic at the answer.
It's impressive he can say go north without a smirk on his face.
I think the point that should be taken, though, of this is that it is the Israeli people.
Yeah.
That there is something still like hovering in the high 70s support for this assault on Gaza. and the Gazan people, really. The people who are saying you can't do this are also the same U.S. intelligence officials who say they haven't come close to doing what they claim they have done in terms of the Hamas infrastructure. You can go back to early December and see, or November, and see Lloyd Austin say, this doesn't look like it's going to work. He wasn't explicit about that. He was just saying that you can have perhaps a tactical victory and not a strategic one.
Yeah.
Because there has been clear from the beginning that no one thinks that they're going to be able to do whatever it is that they say that they can do to Hamas. And certainly for every Hamas fighter they have killed, they are basically created a machine to create more Hamas fighters. Also, the idea that Hamas is part of some type of international access from Iran. There's no doubt in my mind that Iran has provided some support, not like the hundreds of millions of dollars that the Qataris have provided with Israel's blessing. But the bottom line is, without the nationalistic aspirations, Hamas does not exist. Hamas is specific to the Palestinian people, in many ways specific to Gaza.
Yeah.
And it came out of a nationalistic aspirational ideology, and of course has been nurtured by Israel as a bulwark against the Fatah secular wing of, I guess, the Palestinian body politic.
Netanyahu has bragged about bolstering Hamas.
So this whole thing is just is just ridiculous. And, you know.
And when he says it's not just, he's right that the Israeli people support this, as you say, but that's a part of the problem of why you can't really consider Israel a democracy, because there are millions of Palestinians who don't have a say in this, and that's by design because it's an ethno-state, right? They don't have a sovereignty, and so Israel controls their borders, land and sea, and they're able to inflict upon them whatever they wish. And so, like, when he says there also that that now there's plenty of room in the north of Gaza, that's true, because like 80% of the homes have been either damaged or completely destroyed. So there's a lot of room.
Pick up your tents.
It's like how Europe had room after World War II.
Yeah, but like and the thinly veiled clash of civilization stuff he says there, that's just like really far right fascist mythologizing of a massacre that you're trying to commit. And he's trying to make it about like a broader kind of, a broader battle of the West against the barbarism, as he describes it. And that's at least a little bit more honest in what he's trying to achieve.